pretty amazing, you know.
Yeah. Now, do you have just like a preference, because you've dabbled in so many different creative aspects of the industry and everything. I mean, you've done audiobooks, you've done music, paintings, dabbled in a little bit of filmmaking. I mean, do you have a preference of what you enjoy more? Or does it vary from mood to mood?
Well, I always love music, you know, but I like to combine the music with the filmmaking. That's the thing that I probably like to do the very best.
Yeah.
We did several videos last year. We did the song The All Souls Band, which I wrote in 1991, about a traveling band, traveling English countryside. We filmed that up in the mountains in the autumn of the year. It came out beautifully. We also, the summer before, had done a kind of a 60s parody song that I did called Julie Patchouli. I did it in kind of a Donovan style.
Yeah.
And I used to joke about that for years. Someday I'm going to write a song, Julie Patchouli, about the 60s.
Yeah.
And we had Rochelle Quinn played Julie Patchouli in it.
Yeah.
And the singer, who's the character in the story that I wrote about Julie Patchouli, Tim Ruff, who's a really good songwriter, singer-songwriter from Pittsburgh, he played the folk singer, Raven Manning, in it. And so they are the main two characters. I appear in the video in one place. You see my hands playing my guitar. I'm
Your
playing.
little cameo.
I'm playing the 1967 Harmony Rocket.
Yeah.
And for the guitar solo. So that's the only time you see me. And it's
Yeah.
actually the band All Who Wonder, which was kind of like a little acoustic thing we did for about a year.
Yeah.
And it just kind of fizzled out.
Cool. So here's something that I've asked a couple people that I've interviewed so far in the web scene, and I'm interested in getting different people's points of view on it. It has to do with the modern Hollywood media and how they seem to very heavily promote the whole overnight success, the whole Cinderella rags to riches story. I know what happened within 5 minutes. This person was, making millions and touring the world. And do you? I obviously it is a very unrealistic view, but what's your view on the whole thing? Because I know the media has probably changed very much so since the 60s, 70s, 80s, and how they, yeah.
Well, what's really interesting is during the late 60s and early 70s, I did not own a television. So I didn't even know what was going on in the media. Mostly my experience with the media at that time was reading Rolling Stone magazine, Cream magazine, Hit Parader magazine, to find out about music.
Yes.
But what else was going on in the world? I mean, I literally saw the moon landing in a department store window television as I was walking by, because I didn't have a TV at the time.
Yeah.
So I was really unaware of what the media was doing at that time. In years gone by, since through YouTube and things, I've been able to see some of those things and actually watch them, but I didn't see them when they were happening. So I didn't know what the media was even doing. Now I have a television. I very seldom watch anything besides the History Channel or the Weather Channel. Seems like that's my two main interests in life. So again, I've never seen American Idol. Never watched it.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they're doing, nor do I care, basically, because I know it's a contrived kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much so.
But I do think that there's a false image given, because I talk to some young people and they say, if I can get signed. And I said, I have friends who got signed in the 60s. And by the time they had been with the record company for 10 years, they owed the record company a small fortune, because all the costs of recording and everything was taken out of their royalties, and they never saw the money.
And it's gotten worse since then too. You hear all these stories in the media about how this person's trying to get out of their contract, and and I've even had people ask me, when American Idol came through town, you should audition, and I was just like, why would I want to do that? And basically sign my soul away to somebody who's gonna try to just contrive and control what I do creatively. I mean, look at Kelly Clarkson. I mean, she was trying to break out of her contract, and I mean, it's really, you know, and I think in that sense, the media just does, they do, especially young people, a huge injustice as far as that's concerned.
Well, and I know Dave Swarbrick in an interview once, who was the fiddler for Fairport Convention for many years, was talking about, he says, the thing that all those years, you know, people thought they were rich. And here, he said, all that was happening was the debt was getting bigger and bigger. And he said they actually played one time for a washing machine. They actually played a gig to get a washing machine. That was it.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, this is nothing new. Record companies and corporations have constantly ripped off artists. I mean, it's like when I met Bo Diddley, and I met him several times over the years, but I met him at our flea market right up the street from here, and he was buying copies of his own records because he didn't have copies.
Right.
And he had told me once that he said, you know, when you're young and you're trying to make it, you sign papers. You don't know what you're signing. And he actually signed away his songwriting royalties to Chess Records. And so when the Rolling Stones recorded his songs, he never got the money.
Never got the money.
And that's sad, you know.
Yeah, and that wasn't necessarily the Rolling Stones. That was the record label.
Right, it was the record label, right. They were paying the royalties to who owned the publishing, and the record company owned it.
Yeah. Yeah, sad state of affairs. But you've had the honor of being inducted into the Rockabilly Hall of Fame.
Which is funny.
But like, how did it end up coming about, and did it have any sort of impact on you musically or career-wise? Or
well, here's the thing about the Rockabilly Hall of Fame. I was in it and didn't know.
Oh.
I had been inducted into it. And it was a website originally. Now apparently they have a building, though I've never been there. But they had this website, and my brother found it. It's back before I was even on the internet. And he called me up and says, hey, I just saw your page on the Rockabilly Hall of Fame. And I says, what's that? And I had no idea. But anyway, I got in touch with the person who ran it. I talked to him on the telephone back then because I had no email. I talked, and he wanted some pictures, so I sent him some pictures, and he actually made up a page with actual pictures of me. He didn't know I was even still alive. He just knew I had made 2 records back in the early 80s, and they were on the Bishop label, a local label. And it was one of those deals where Ray Bishop, the owner of the label, said he'd like to record some rockabilly. And at that time, we had just had a band that broke up called Memphis Leather. Played for about 6 months. Nobody wanted to hear rockabilly. It was before the Stray Cats.
Oh, okay.
So we'd go play at these places, and people would come up and say, oh, you guys are an oldies band. I said, no, we're not an oldies band, but we're doing a rockabilly style. Some of the songs would fit into that category. So Ray Bishop approached me one night, and he actually wanted to record the whole band at first, but by the time we actually got things going, the band had broken up. So what happened was the first one was recorded less than a quarter mile from here in Mike Colasar's garage. We recorded 2 sides, Bebop-A-Lula, which was by Gene Vincent and the Blue Caps originally, and Baby Let's Play House by Elvis, because he had heard that at one of the Memphis Leather shows, and he liked the way I did it. So we recorded in Mike's garage. We built an echo chamber because I read an article on Sun Records on how they made their echo. So we actually made an echo chamber the same way. And Mike and he played the drums, and actually played the drums on one song, Cardboard Box on the other song. And so we recorded that, me playing rhythm guitar, him playing the drums, and then I went back in and overdubbed the lead guitar. And that was the record. And then the second record, Mike had moved to Michigan at that time, so he wasn't available. So Greg Ide, who had been the drummer in Memphis Leather, who owns Ide's Entertainment, played drums on that. And they were 2 original songs, Rockin' at the Midnight Grill and Rattlesnake Woman. And so they were very blues-based. And 3 of those songs got picked up by a label in Sweden and put on an album called All American Rock and Roll 50s Style. But I never saw any royalties. But Ray Bishop, when he signed me, he said, well, here's what we can do. I can give you royalties and you wait, or I can give you a cash sum up front.
Right.
Well, I read an article about the blues singer Lightning Hopkins.
Yeah.
And he said, take the money because you'll never get the royalties.
Never get,
So I took the money. I paid my car insurance with the first record. I didn't have money for my car insurance. That was a godsend.
Yeah.
I was able to do that.
Absolutely.
So these records, they were obscure, but they sold well, apparently.
Yeah.
And so what happened is it got me in the Rockabilly Hall of Fame. Now, the only problem with that is I couldn't translate that into